What is it? What do you see? I don't know, sir. There.
Capitan! Something is wrong! It is the compass! There is a devil in it! I haven't got a fire!
Monstro, Capitan. What manner of world is this new land we venture into?
The Bermuda Triangle. It's here, off the southeastern Atlantic coast of the United States. A triangle formed by Bermuda, Miami, San Juan, Puerto Rico. You are about to see a motion picture that will explore one of the strangest and most dangerous mysteries of our time. It's based on the best-selling book by Charles Berlitz, plus a staggering file of verified incidents, official records, and new evidence never before available. Much of the dialogue is word for word, as taken from flight recorders and the testimony of some of the people who were actually involved. Columbus's experience was just the beginning. For hundreds of years, strange incidents continued to occur in the same area, terrifying the superstitious crews of the ancient ships. Many of the stories were written up in the captain's log, like this one. For almost 2 weeks now, there has been nary a breath of wind, and we have remained becalmed, hopelessly adrift in this damnable Sargasso Sea.
We seem clutched by an invisible force, a devil's hand that held us dead in the water. There has not been a hint of a breeze for days, yet there is the sound of wind. Strange lights were sighted on the mid-watch last.
Keep off the port bow! On a port, Captain!
But as she approached, we could discern no movement on deck. Nothing.
Looks to be the Westbury Star.
But she left Swansea 2 months ahead of us.
Incredible.
She shows no hands, no manner of life aboard. See if you can raise her.
Aye, sir. Fire a signal cannon.
She's stripped for the wind on a port tack, Captain.
Westbury Star! Westbury Star! If you hear us, please give a sign!
Wait. I see something.
She was manned by the dead and tacking to a brisk wind. But there was no wind. On my oath, no wind at all.
History gives us very little information about just how many ships disappeared in that area before the beginning of the 19th century. And most of the incredible stories told by the sailors were written off as superstition. But then, in 1800, with the disappearance of the first American naval vessel, the USS Insurgent, with all 340 crewmen aboard, convinced the authorities to begin keeping records. Within a few days, this ship, the USS Pickering, vanished with a crew of 90. Then in 1824, the USS Wasp disappeared in the same area. More and more ships disappeared without a trace. The USS Grampus, the USS Wildcat, the Mary Celeste. Then in 1881, an incredible incident took place when the American freighter Ellen Austin found a derelict ship west of the Azores.
Oh, the Mayfair! This is Captain May of the Ellen Austin. Is there anyone aboard?
Oh, not a living soul aboard. Noah, go on.
Hey! It's a treasure ship! Silver bullion, and raw silk from China!
Should show a fine profit. We'll put a prize crew on board. They can sail her back to port with us, huh?
Right, all right. Pick up the bar with you. You go after you check it out there. Hey, grab the money! Grab the money!
There's treasure there. Enough for all of us. Where's my prize ship? Where's my treasure?
Where is it? Ship.
Lads, if we told this tale in every port, there'll be none who believe what we've seen this day.
Ships and men continued to vanish in the ancient Sea of Fear. And then with the advent of air travel, planes began to disappear from the sky, just as mysteriously as ships did from the sea. This is the Naval Air Station at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it was here, over 30 years ago, that an extraordinary incident took place. An incident that was to give a new name to the old Sea of Fear. From then on, it would be called the Bermuda Triangle. The date was December 5th, 1945. Lieutenant Charles Taylor, United States Marine Corps. A veteran and much decorated combat pilot. But not once in all his 4 years of combat in the skies had he ever been gripped with the clammy fear he was carrying in the pit of his stomach that day. Lieutenant Taylor could not rid himself of the chilling premonition, and neither could another man assigned to Training Flight 19, Corporal Alan Cosnar.
Listen, Lieutenant Loconis said he saw the thing himself. Said it was round like a pie plate, just hovered over the swamp for a minute, and swish, it was off like a shot.
It's probably a weather balloon. Someone sees something and bingo, it's men from Mars time.
Hey, Cosnar, what's with you? You know, you've been staring out that window for nearly an hour. Thinking? Hey, guys, you hear what happened to this morning's flight? Weird.
What do you mean weird?
Winds out of nowhere. Gusts up to 180 miles per hour. The other instruments went nuts. Loconis said it really gave Levine the shakes. Well, guys, this is the last time you're gonna see Sergeant Gallivan in this old monkey suit. Yeah, from now on, the only wild blue yonder I want to see is in some chick's eyes. From now on, it is going to be Mr. Gallivan again.
Yeah, that's right. You bust out of here tomorrow, don't you?
Well, guys, we better shake it. It's getting late.
You guys go ahead. I think I'm going to sit this flight out today.
Hey, dig him. You know, you've been acting punchy all morning. Now what's up?
Nothing. I just don't feel like flying today, that's all.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the flight commander will get all choked up about that.
You sure you're okay, Alan? It's not like you to be so quiet.
I think I'm starting to smell those discharge papers myself. Guess I'm just starting to lose my air legs is all. Thinking of home.
I think we all are thinking of home. But in the meantime, pal, we still got to fly today.
Hey, bossy, your laundry came back. They rejected it.
Say, Whitey, what's all this jazz I hear about your flight running into gremlins this morning?
Well, it wasn't in the book, I'll tell you that much.
What happened?
Well, we were about 35 miles northeast of base when all of a sudden we were hit by this really strong headwind. Our instruments went haywire. Started spinning like tops. The radio conked out. Anyway, we put down about 40 miles north of base. 2 hours late, and about 10 years older.
Any reason for it?
We don't know. They're still trying to figure it out.
Thank you for seeing me, sir.
Sure, Cosnar. What can I do for you?
I'd like to be relieved of today's flight, sir.
Why, are you sick?
No.
What's the matter?
Well, I've already done my required flight time this month, sir, and...
Yes?
Well, I just don't feel like flying today, sir. I can't explain it.
Report to the flight surgeon.
Aye, sir.
Now, after the bombing runs are completed, we'll continue on course 091 degrees for a distance of 67 miles towards the Bahamas, turning north to a course of 346 degrees for 73 miles. Then west-southwest to a course of 241 degrees for 120 miles, returning to base at approximately 1723 hours. Your call letters will be Fox Tear. Are there any questions? That's all.
Excuse me, sir. I'd like to be relieved of this flight, sir.
Well, you're flight leader today, Taylor.
I know that, sir.
Don't you feel well?
It isn't that, sir. I'm just... I don't know. I don't feel up to it today.
Well, I'm sorry, Taylor, but I just don't have anybody else to lead a mission.
I understand, sir. run was pretty sick. Remember, this is a precision drill.
545. Time 15:10 hours.
Say again, Red Leader. I'm not reading you. Something's happening to my instruments. This is Foxterra 28 calling Foxterra 36. My instruments have gone crazy. What's your heading? Do you read me, Powers?
Foxterra 28, this is Foxterra 36. Hey, look, my instrument's malfunctioning too. Where are we?
Some 40 miles away, another Navy plane piloted by Lieutenant Robert Cox picked up Flight 19's plane-to-plane communication.
This is Red Leader. Do you read me? Repeat, all units. I recommend switch over to Channel 9. Level off at 7,500.
I can't hear you.
Fort Lauderdale, this is Foxterra 74. I am receiving radio messages from either a boat or some planes that seem lost, over.
That's a Roger, Foxterra 74. Will advise.
Repeat.
Stand by.
Foxterra 74. We cannot read you.
Mayday frequency to lost aircraft. Do you read? Over. Mayday frequency to lost aircraft. Do you read? Over.
What's happening, Powers?
Boat or plane calling Powers, this is Foxterra 74. Please identify yourself so someone can help you.
Fort Lauderdale calling Foxterra 28. Do you read? Over. Fort Lauderdale calling Foxterra 28. Do you read? Over.
What's going on out there, Scully?
Flight 19, sir. It sounds like they're lost. All their instruments are out. They're not receiving us, Lieutenant.
Well, keep at it.
Foxterra 36, this is Fort Lauderdale. Do you read me? Over.
Worshing Mrs. Hines. Flight 19 seems to be lost out there. Better round out some volunteers for a rescue party. Right. On a double.
Foxterra 36, Fort Lauderdale.
Keep it.
Flight 19's in some kind of trouble and seems to be missing. I need everybody for a search mission. Fall in on the flight line in 10 minutes. Fall out. Osnar? Come here a minute. I thought you were supposed to be on that flight.
You told me to see the flight surgeon. He relieved me of duty.
Well, did you get someone to replace you?
Bolton said he'd go for me.
I bumped Bolton from that flight. He already flew up this morning. You can't fly twice in one day. Now, who's up there instead of you?
I don't know, sir.
This is Lieutenant Wershing. I want a full report of all hands. That's right, Sergeant. I want to know where every man attached to this base is, and I want it on the double.
Roger. Search and rescue is standing by to take off, but air-sea forces are out of maneuvers, sir.
Tell Air C to get those Dumbos up as soon as they touch down. With the same crews if necessary.
Yes, sir.
Something's right. The horizon's lost. I can't be sure of any direction.
Do you read me? Over. Identify yourself.
This is Foxterra 28. This is Lieutenant Taylor.
Foxterra 28, this is Foxterra 74. What's your trouble?
Both my compasses went out. I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm over land, but it's broken up. I must be over the Keys, but I don't know how far down.
Give you a position. Guess anything.
I'm over land, but I must be over the Keys.
Listen, put the sun on your port wing if you're in the Keys and fly up the coast until you get to Miami. The air station is directly on your left from the port. What is your present altitude?
We've been hit by 75-knot headwinds. All the compasses and gyros are going crazy.
What's happening? What do we run into?
Hey, the ocean looks funny.
gear. What about your ZBX? Do you read? Do you read me? Over. Foxtail 28, this is Foxtail 74. Do you read me? Over.
Lieutenant Cox flew a search pattern until his fuel ran low. He heard intermittent transmissions the whole time from the units of Flight 19, but he was never able to communicate with them. Base stations and ham operators continued to pick up strangely fragmented transmissions from Flight 19 until after sundown.
I can't see anything where you guys say no time out of touch with everything here. It's like a big, huge, crazy rainbow out here. They're all different kinds of colors.
Then, in the darkening hours, the last and most bone-chilling transmission ever heard from Flight 19.
There's a blinding light on my face. Stay away. We keep putting they look as if there was some vehicle, something from outer space.
Even as the ham radio operator was twisting his dials frantically, 30 aircraft from the USS Solomons already were hard into the search. The highly trained and specialized search and rescue squadrons were ordered out, and under a siege of pressure, the Navy began issuing regular bulletins.
From the Commandant's Office, Naval District. Regular air-sea rescue operations were implemented at 16:20 hours this date, according to standard operating procedure. Delayed returns of training flights are routine, and no problems are expected in locating the overdue aircraft at this time.
The search became more than routine when a giant Martin PBM vanished.
Sir, one of those PBMs just went off the scope.
Impossible. A big Dumbo just doesn't disappear.
At 0600 hours this date, the entire Atlantic Fleet forces began a 1,000-mile sweep of the Bermuda Triangle seas. In simultaneous operation, all fleet units in the Gulf of Mexico are sweeping the north and central areas.
Now hear this. All hands lay up to main deck for lookout assignment.
The great search failed. 6 aircraft and 27 men vanished without a trace, as though into another world. Shortly after the disappearance of Flight 19, a Naval Board of Inquiry was held.
Please, all we know is that the planes evidently got lost because of instrument malfunction.
Are you saying that 5 planes and a giant PBM all had the same trouble at the same time?
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I can't answer any more of your questions. All I can do is read you the board statement. It is the consensus of the board that this unprecedented peacetime loss seems to be a total mystery. The strangest ever investigated in the annals of naval aviation.
A full transcript of the board's findings was never released, and 2 indisputable facts remain. 1, all hands at the Naval Air Station that day were present and accounted for. 2, Corporal Alan Kosnar was not on that flight. For 30-odd years, the question has gone begging. Who took Alan Kosnar's place? Or should we ask, what took Alan Kosnar's place? Somewhere out here, something or someone is swallowing up ships and planes and people at the rate of 1 ship or plane a month. And whatever happens, it must come so quickly, there isn't even time to send a distress signal or an SOS. Is there a reasonable explanation for these disappearances? Well, for years, respected scientists and oceanographers have been looking for the answers. One theory is that unexploded bombs and floating mines left over from 2 world wars are responsible. But in the hundreds of mysterious disappearances, no debris has ever been found, not even so much as an oil slick. Another theory concerns the phenomena the oceanographers call blue holes, currently being studied by international teams of deepwater scientists.
These so-called blue holes are basically vast networks of caves beneath the sea. But how far they go or how deep, we really don't know.
Well, we are not even sure they have been naturally formed. In some cases, they resemble metro tunnels.
They are like colossal sponges. The change of the tides causes tremendous pressure changes within the caves, making strong whirlpools on the surface.
They could easily suck a small boat down. Easily.
Our divers have seen such instances.
Small craft, yes, but not great ships, and certainly not an aircraft. For that, you must look elsewhere.
It is interesting to note how many disappearances the authorities credit to underwater earthquakes. Such upheavals have been known to create immense tidal waves. But none so high as to swamp an airplane in flight. However, there are stacks of sworn testimony of aircraft flying into a cloud and vanishing. The so-called experts insist that what the observers saw was not a cloud at all, but a deadly waterspout. But not one shred of wreckage has ever been found of all the aircraft that have been lost in the Bermuda Triangle. Miraculously, there have been a few people who have lived through mysterious incidents in the Bermuda Triangle and who have come back to relate what happened to them. One such person is Captain Don Henry.
We were 3 days out of Puerto Rico, towing a long barge of 2,500 tons. I remember it well. Just finished taking that lousy thing apart and oiling it. Chavez! Chavez!
Yes, sir!
What's wrong with the generator?
I don't know. The generator is fine, but look at...
Meet me in the engine room, Chavez.
Okay, sir, but you better look on deck first.
Generator still working?
Yes. Sure, Captain. Like I say, it's fine, but listen...
Why is there no power?
I don't know, but listen, I think you should see something.
Look, Chavez, I got no time to be looking. What's going on?
No,
Will you tell me what's so all-fired important out here?
Well, look!
Yeah, that is kind of strange. How do you figure that out? Clouds sitting right smack on top of the barge.
I don't know, but I don't think I like it.
I've seen some strange things out here. Hard to swallow things.
Yes.
Like the lousy sandwiches you make.
Oh.
Must be a short in here someplace.
Come on.
Where's Juan? Capitan, I fell down. I was almost overboard, Capitan.
Juan, take the wheel.
The barge! She passed loose!
Then what? Hold it up the tow line.
Oh, it's pretty cold.
It's freezing.
In 25 years at sea, I never saw the like. A freezing cold in the middle of August. Yet the rails were as hot as steam lines. Something in that strange cloud had sucked up the energy of our generators and our engines. Sucked up the heat of the day itself. Something that wanted us, tried to pull us into that cloud.
A Swedish oceanographer suggested that the barge had been caught up in a waterspout. But Captain Henry was an old salt. He knew a waterspout when he saw one, and he swore that wasn't what he saw. Besides, a waterspout wouldn't have explained the unusual warmth of the tug after the incident, or the loss of electrical power. Of course, the newspapers paid little attention to what happened to 4 seamen. But it was quite another story sometime later, when 1,500 people were stranded in the Triangle. It was April 3rd, 1974, and the world's most luxurious liner, the Queen Elizabeth II, was making 35 knots, 100 miles south of Bermuda, while a Coast Guard cutter followed, keeping the giant ship in sight and on their radar scopes.
What the? She's gone.
Who's gone?
The QE2. She was here on the last sweep. Then just disappeared.
Well, don't we still have visual contact with her?
I don't know, sir.
Yeah, she's still out there.
Maybe so, but she sure ain't on this scope.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. May I please have your attention? Please accept our apologies. We are experiencing a minor technical difficulty.
The official report blamed a leaky boiler and scrupulously avoided mention of the Bermuda Triangle. Ironically, most of the passengers aboard the QE2 didn't know they were even in the Bermuda Triangle. But there was one man who never forgot his experience there. And although Charles Wakely survived to tell his incredible story, it may be that the Bermuda Triangle eventually brought about his sudden death. Wakely was a professional pilot with over 10 years' experience at the time of the incident. He was completing a routine flight. After dropping off charter passengers in Nassau, he was on his way back to Miami. The weather was very clear, and the stars were crisp and shining. From that moment, Charles Wakely was determined to explore the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle.
Bermuda Triangle, case history number 31. Alice Johnson. Subject was flying from Bermuda to Miami. Halfway to destination, subject had an encounter with an unknown force.
Yes, I admit the glowing wings, the eerie light, the same feeling of horror, just like the other pilots who don't want to talk about it.
Wakely's research ended tragically that night in 1974. The killer and the motive are still a mystery.
I'm frightened. I want to forget this thing. I want to go on living.
Just what is out here? Is it some unseen force in the air? Or on the surface of the water? Or maybe lurking below? Some anomalies are known to exist out here. For instance, most seamen and pilots are aware of two navigational quirks in the Bermuda Triangle. One is called dead spots, which causes radios to go out. The other is a variation in magnetic compasses, which in the triangle point to true north instead of toward magnetic north. And there is another mystery of the Bermuda Triangle that no one can deny, because you can see it, touch it. It's right out here, just off the Bahamas. The luminous glowing of the mysterious white waters. Columbus was the first to see it when he entered the New World. And it's the last view of Earth when the astronauts rocket through space toward the moon. The phenomenon still baffles modern science. But the Greek philosopher Plato may have had the answer, along with the ancient Egyptians and the world-renowned psychic Edgar Cayce. They were all agreed the fabled continent of Atlantis sank into the sea in this area some 12,000 years ago. Thousands of people around the world have followed the startling revelations of Edgar Cayce, who predicted many years before they happened certain earthquakes, the assassination of U.S. presidents, even the highly sophisticated developments like the powerful laser. Could the white waters somehow be connected with Cayce's claim that Atlantis is lying underwater here off Bimini? This sonar scan shows a large mass on the sea bottom, which plainly outlines something shaped like an immense pyramid. The height is estimated at 420 feet, with a base of 540 feet, very close to the dimensions of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Almost 100 prehistorians and archaeologists believe that the lost world of Atlantis did exist. These scientific investigators place Atlantis exactly where Plato, the Egyptians, and Cayce said it was, at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. In 1940, Edgar Cayce predicted the first portions of Atlantis would be discovered off Bimini in 1968. As if to fulfill this curious archaeological prediction, 28 years later, in 1968, oceanographer Dr. J. Manson Valentine and 3 associates discovered an extensive wall of irregular stones, shaped and accurately aligned, forming what is now known as the Bimini Road or Wall, whose exposed section alone measures over 900 feet long. Our own history records the cataclysmic destruction of whole civilizations, like Pompeii, buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius before the birth of Christ. Some experts seriously believe that an advanced culture like Atlantis could have existed 12,000 years ago, and its wealth of knowledge was buried with it in a sudden calamity. In 1933, Edgar Cayce described ruins that lay below the waters of Bimini, where an immense energy of the stars was concentrated, stored in a powerful crystal. called the Tuaui stone, radiated energy which Casey believed this prism-like device drew its immense power from the universe itself, from magnetic forces which were ultimately pushed to such extremes that the Atlanteans unleashed uncontrollable forces of nature from the very bowels of the Earth itself. Were Plato and Edgar Casey correct? Is Atlantis here, under the water off Bimini? And what about that powerful Tuaui stone Casey spoke of? That magnetic force crystal that harnessed the awesome power of the stars? Could it still be down there somewhere, below the waters off Bimini, perhaps still active? Favored in some circles is a sort of anti-gravity tunnel, visible only as a whirlpool in the sea. An inverse magnetic field capable of altering the molecular structure of any physical property entering it. Well, this may seem fantastic. There is a woman who actually witnessed just such a vortex. Her name is Helen Meiser. The date, August 25th, 1971.
I know my story sounds very fantastic, but it is true. Please believe me, I knew nothing of science or such complicated things as gravity. On that day, I was just a tourist, enjoying my flight from Miami to Nassau on a beautiful sunny morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Breakfast will be served in a few minutes. Everything all right?
Please, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please have your attention? Captain Marshall has just informed us that it may be necessary to make an emergency landing. Please follow our instructions.
Would you leave that up? It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
If someone had told me that such things could have happened in the Bermuda Triangle, I would never have believed them. But now I know that anything is possible.
Terrified and near panic like the other passengers, Elaine Misa completely forgot the camera she was holding. So she didn't get a photograph of the strange whirlpool. But later, she and other passengers aboard Flight 51 compared accounts of what they had seen. And she drew this picture of the vortex. Frau Misa was a very lucky woman. She survived a terrifying experience with a magnetic vortex. Others have not been so fortunate. Like pilot Carolyn Koskio and passenger Richard Rosen's encounter with a time warp that apparently sent them through a window into another dimension.
This is Grand Turk. Do you read me, Cessna? Cessna, this is Grand Turk calling. Do you read me?
Does that look like Grand Turk down there?
Yes, deserted.
Deserted? Are they crazy?
The island's shaped like Grand Turk. There's nothing on it.
I can hear them, but they can't hear me. Something must be wrong with their radio.
Not just our radio. It must be blind. It's clear as a bell out there.
No landing strip, no buildings, no people. It's sure not Grand Turk, Carolyn.
What is wrong with that crazy man? He is right over us.
This is Grand Turk calling, Cessna. You're right over us.
Sonny, there's no way out.
Out of what? What's he talking about? They gone.
Carolyn Koskio's plane was never heard from or seen again. This is the view over Grand Turk Island. Why couldn't Miss Koskio or her passengers see the buildings and landing strips below? Some physicists have suggested that the plane might have entered some dimensional window, a space window, if you will, which caused an inversion of time and space, thrusting her plane into an early period of time, where they saw the island in the past, before the landing strip and buildings even existed. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it, this traveling in time? But the experts insist that it's theoretically possible. And eyewitness accounts of ships and planes suddenly appearing and then quickly disappearing have been coming out of the triangle for years. In 1881, a very special naval cadet of the British Royal Navy, aboard the HMS Inconstant, reported seeing the Flying Dutchman suddenly appear in a strange phosphorescent light, only to disappear moments later.
I insist it be duly recorded in this ship's log. Write that we saw it with our own eyes. The appearance of the ghost ship, Flying Dutchman.
Long after he ascended the throne, King George V often recounted his eerie experience in the Bermuda Triangle. Could there be a place out there where ships and planes disappear into another dimension and then reappear in a different period of time? Unfortunately, most incidents of this nature are not reported. They're covered up to avoid embarrassing questions. Questions that have as yet no easy answers. Like the incident involving a mysterious time lapse that occurred at Miami Airport just a few years ago. A super jetliner had just entered into the Miami traffic pattern.
We should be on our final approach in 15 minutes, right on schedule.
403, you're cleared for approach.
Give us a time check, will you, Miami?
In 5 seconds, it will be exactly 0008.
Right on the button.
It was a clear and beautiful night in the Triangle, and Miami Control Center was routinely tracking the flight's approach.
What's the matter? Where'd that weird haze come from?
Yeah. I never saw anything like that before at this altitude.
Flight 403, this is Miami Center. How do you hear me? Jack, I think this flight is having radio problems. Flight 403. If you read me, please respond on emergency channel. I've just lost Flight 403.
Jimmy Peters. Yeah, this is air control. We just lost contact with 403. About 20 minutes from us. Yeah, right.
How come we can't see Miami yet?
Don't rush us.
What time is it? I think my watch is broken.
12:12.
That's what I have. But that's impossible. It can't be just 3 minutes since I was here. I went all the way aft, served 3 drinks, helped a little old lady back to her seat from the John, got some aspirin for one passenger and a cup of coffee for another. Now, I couldn't have done all that in just 3 minutes.
Have the Coast Guard search and rescue standing by. They may have ditched about 225 miles southeast. Okay, let me look at it, honey.
Looks like we're flying out of that weird haze. That's strange.
What?
I don't see it behind us. It just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Coast Guard's got 2 planes standing by, and there's a cutter in the area also.
All right, notify the Coast Guard. Tell them how many people are on that
I got her
plane.
again.
Are you sure?
There she is. She just showed up again.
What's happening up there?
Listen, do you run a check on all this equipment?
Yeah, that's SOP. There's no malfunction here.
That doesn't make sense. This is Peterson. Tell the Coast Guard to stand down. She just showed up again.
Wait a minute, Pete. What could have made her slip off the screen for 10 minutes like that?
I'll think about that whenever this knot in my stomach straightens out.
What's the emergency?
We didn't report any problems.
What went wrong up there?
What are you talking about?
You must have dived low or something. Got below radar. What caused it?
I don't know what you mean. We're exactly on schedule to the second.
You're 10 minutes late, but that's beside the point.
It's 12:36. We touched down about 5 minutes ago.
It's 12:46. Your watch is 10 minutes slow.
I've got just about 12:36 too.
No, I tell you it's 12:46.
Leslie, what time have you got?
It's close to 12:37.
Pete, we made a time check with Miami not half an hour ago, and all our watches were right.
Including the ship's clock.
Hold on a second. Pardon me.
Excuse me, please. Excuse us.
$12:37. Exactly what we have.
Hey, Peterson. All our watches couldn't have lost 10 minutes. That's crazy.
Pete, what's this all about?
I wish I knew. But at 12:10, you went off the scopes. You didn't show up again until 12:20. For 10 minutes. Well, you just didn't exist.
Just what did happen to this giant ship of the skies? It seems highly unlikely that all the crew's watches and the ship's clock would have been precisely 10 minutes slow. But could Flight 403 have passed through the tip of that dimensional window, disappearing then reappearing 10 minutes later, stopping the passage of time on board the plane, holding it suspended somewhere in the fourth dimension? Is it possible? Based on Einstein's complex unified field theory, many scientists believe that strong concentrations of magnetism, such as occur in the triangle, might actually alter the molecular structure of matter, causing it to disappear, or even be pulled into another dimension. Following publication of his startling book in 1955, Dr. M.K. Jessup, the world-renowned astronomer and scientific philosopher, received a letter that was to add a new dimension to his life's work. Dr. Jessup's book had called upon his colleagues in the scientific community for a reappraisal of Einstein's disturbing unified field theory. But he was totally unprepared for the letter.
My dear colleague, for reasons that will become apparent, I shall identify myself only as Carl W. Allen, and inform you, as my conscience demands, that Einstein's theory has been brought to reality with some shocking results. The Philadelphia experiment was the code name for secret tests conducted by the Navy in October of 1943 aboard the USS Eldridge, a destroyer that had been specially fitted with unique electrical and electronic equipment. For all intents and purposes, the tests were for camouflage development. Based upon the Einstein calculations, the Navy had 4 huge generators especially designed and built. These were to produce massive flux fields, which, when counterposed, would create an envelope of sorts about the test ship, a magnetic smoke screen, if you will.
We've installed 4 generators on the destroyer. 1 on the flying bridge, 1 amidships, and 2 aft. When we begin this experiment, the varying potentials of the generators should alter the structure of the atmosphere around the ship, resulting in a color combining with the sea.
You mean to make the destroyer invisible?
Not strictly, sir. The ship will be hiding under a traveling magnetic canopy of sorts.
We're ready, sir.
Good. Please be seated, sir. Proceed with the countdown.
Now hear this! Now hear this! All stations stand by for ready reports.
Station 4, all systems. Station 6, after bank loops closed and reading.
Shunt power to start.
We have a ready from the Eldridge, sir.
Lock monitor. We have a command. Coming up on the mark and counting. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark!
After the test was completed and the equipment shut down, the Eldridge vanished again, for no reason.
Hey, it's coming back.
The Eldridge reappeared just as suddenly a few minutes later. The immediate after effects produced retching sickness and considerable painful symptoms among the men. Horrid. But what happened later was far worse. The test was an unqualified success for the equipment, Jessup, but an utter failure for the crew that had been exposed to something far worse than nuclear radiation. Only the lucky ones went mad.
I saw him there. Don't tell me he wasn't there. Don't tell me he wasn't there. I saw him. And right next to me, and I looked over at him. He was gone. He wasn't there anymore. He was not anymore.
Many of these poor men continued to experience a trans-dimensional phenomenon, completely destroying any chance they may have had for normal lives. They've become freaks, Jessup, freaks that were quickly and carefully snatched into seclusion. To avoid embarrassing questions, they've become nothing more than carefully preserved specimens, Jessup. I've seen them myself. Human beings reduced to the level of laboratory animals. My dear Jessup, in our responsibility to science, can we forget our humanity? I leave it to you to decide if further work shall be put into this or not. I write in hopes there will be.
Allen's letter set Jessup upon an exhaustive 5-year search for the truth. And in spite of threats, insults, and coercions, Jessup continued to probe right up to the last bizarre moments of an April night in 1959.
Listen, I've reached some fantastic conclusions regarding that Philadelphia experiment, and I've got to see you right away.
How about tomorrow?
No, right away, tonight.
Fine.
Good, I'll be there in an hour with all my notes.
But neither Jessup nor his papers ever arrived at that meeting. Why?
Suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. White male Caucasian, approximately 62 years. No papers, notes, or effects. Dispatch coroner and ID unit.
No papers or effects were found with Dr. Jessup's body. Why? Did such a fantastic project as the Philadelphia experiment ever really take place? We don't know for sure, but to date, at least a dozen books have been written about it. The key question is this. Did the government have a top-secret project involving the Eldridge and an application of Einstein's unified field theory? A Princeton scientist who claimed he worked on the early stages of the project says that he saw a handwritten sheet of complex mathematical calculations pertaining to the project, and that he recognized the handwriting as that of Albert Einstein himself. Some people claim that high-ranking research officers persuaded the Navy to let them use this ship, the Eldridge, just as soon as she was built. Interestingly, the logbook for the Eldridge is missing. The pages for the first 3 months of her service. Why? This is a picture of the dry dock where the Eldridge was built, filed top secret for 22 years. Another interesting note is that the Eldridge later experienced an unusually high desertion rate. For some reason, her crewmen kept jumping ship in greater than average numbers. Could it be that there was still some lingering after effects of that mysterious experiment? In this era of vigorous investigative reporting, as demonstrated by such exposés as the Pentagon Papers and Watergate, we find it baffling that even after 35 years, witnesses still refuse to talk about the Philadelphia experiment. And it is worthy of note that the Office of Naval Research categorically states that the incident never took place. This is the book by Jessup, which sparked Allen's letter. In it, Dr. Jessup theorizes that UFOs appear and disappear in a Bermuda Triangle, using much the same techniques as were reported in the Philadelphia experiment. For instance, there's the widely publicized incident that took place on January 7th, 1948. It involved a flight of P-51 Mustangs and a UFO spotted in the skies over Fort Knox, Kentucky. The police subsequently passed on the report to nearby Godman Field at Fort Knox.
Tower. Yes, sir. Lieutenant, it's the CO. This Lieutenant Michaels. Yes, sir. We've had visual contact with whatever it is for the last 5 minutes. No, sir. I checked with Wright Field. They have no experimental aircraft in the area. No, sir. I have no idea what it is. Yes, sir. Where is it? It's right out there. Well, sir, it seems to be gold. It's round. It has a red border at the bottom and a red border at the top, but only intermittently.
What seems to be the problem, Lieutenant?
Beats me, Colonel. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Excuse me, sir. There's 4 P-51s approaching from the south, probably on their way to Stanford Field.
We'll contact the flight leader. Tell him to take a look at it.
Yes, sir. This is Godman Tower to flight leader of flight approaching field. Come in, please. Over.
This is Captain Mantell, flight leader of Flight 451 to Godman Tower. Over.
Captain Mantell, how do you read me? Over.
I read you loud and clear, Godman Tower. Over.
Captain Mantell, request you change to radio frequency.
The flight leader was Captain Thomas Mantell, a veteran World War II fighter pilot, one who'd survived many missions over enemy territory.
1991. Roger. Over.
Flight leader Mantell, there's an unidentified aircraft in your area. Approximate heading 210 degrees. Request you investigate. Over.
This is flight leader Mantell to Godman. Will do. Changing course to 210.
Roger.
Godman Tower, this is Lieutenant Campbell. I'm reading low fuel. Request permission to stand down. Over. Godman, this is Johnson 451. Ditto that request. Over.
Roger. Permission granted.
Captain Mantell was now on the UFO's heading and climbing fast, leaving Lieutenant Hammond, the one remaining wingman, behind. At 2:45, Mantell contacted the tower.
I see it. It's directly above and ahead of me. Ever see anything like this before, Hammond?
Captain Mantell, not in my experience, Captain. Throttle back, sir. I'm losing you.
Godman, this is Mantell. I have the bogey fixed now. I'm closing in on it.
Tower to Mantell. Can you describe it?
Mantell to tower. The object appears to be a metallic substance of tremendous size.
He's getting closer to it.
Where are they?
Right there, sir. Can you see him?
Mantell to tower. The object in front of me is completely unreal. I'm going to try to close in for a better look. I'm going to 20,000 feet.
Level off, Captain, until I regain visual contact. Do you read me? This is Hammond to Mantell. Do you read me? Do you read me, Captain? Do you read me? Tower to Mantell. Do you read? Over. Tower to Mantell. Come in, please. Over. Godman, this is Lieutenant Hammond. I've lost visual and radio contact with flight leader. Is he reading you? Over. Stand by, Hammond. I can't see him anymore either. And that thing, it's gone into the clouds. This is Godman Tower to flight leader Mantell. Do you read? Over.
Sergeant, let's see what you found there.
Here you are, sir.
A thorough review was made of the many eyewitness accounts, which all agreed. Mantell's plane exploded at 3:15 p.m. But when the pilot's watch was found, it had stopped at 3:10, 5 minutes before the explosion. In aircraft disasters, the wreckage always includes large structural pieces and intact parts. But the largest fragment of Mantell's plane was no bigger than a tin can lid, punctured with hundreds of tiny holes no earthly force could have produced. Authorities admitted they had never seen such strange salvage parts before, and they were unable to explain the unusual holes in the remnants of Mantell's plane. Could a magnetic storm created by a UFO have caused such damage? Is there something or someone out there in the void of space? Let's consider the possibilities.
To an astronomer like myself, the idea of intelligent life being confined to our tiny little planet Earth is ridiculous. Why, in our own small galaxy alone, there are more than 10 billion star systems. By the laws of mathematical probability, there must be 40 to 50 million planets, like our own, each with their intelligent life forms. Perhaps even now they are attempting to contact us.
Perhaps it was an emissary from one of these other worlds who attempted to make contact with our first men in space, the astronauts. The men who fly in these giant spaceships are highly skilled professionals. They have been trained to deal with almost any situation that might occur. When they spotted bogies or unidentified craft, they reported precisely what they saw.
Go ahead. Bogey at 10 o'clock high. This is Houston. Say again, 7? We have a bogey at 10 o'clock high. Roger.
Gemini Control here again. The reference in that conversation was bogey. This is Gemini Control in Houston at 4 hours, 24 minutes into the flight.
Some experts have theorized that what the astronauts actually saw was the sun reflecting off their booster rocket, which they had jettisoned earlier. But the astronauts, remember, are professionals. They would surely have recognized any piece of their own equipment. Records of UFOs, as well as some probable encounters, appear not only in the Bible, but in the written and oral histories of every culture in the family of man. In the last 30 years, UFOs have been sighted all over the world and over nearly every major city. But there seems to be a surprising concentration of sightings right here in the Bermuda Triangle, even though only a small percentage of them ever get reported to the authorities. John Fairfax was a daring adventurer who'd set out to row the Atlantic from the Canary Islands to Florida.
How do you explain your experience in the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, as I've said, ladies and gentlemen, I can only relate what happened. I can't explain it at all. This all occurred around about the evening of May the 5th, towards the end of my trip.
Was it just John Fairfax's imagination? Maybe. But how do you explain another man who had the exact same experience in the Triangle? It was just a month or so later when John Carpenter was guiding his charter boat on a run from Bimini. Reported in Richard Weiner's book, The Devil's Triangle. Fairfax and Carpenter are only 2 out of thousands of people who have seen something strange out there. Even a member of the United Nations and our own President Carter claim to have seen UFOs. If there are alien vehicles around, where are they coming from? Dr. Valentine and other scientific observers suggest that UFOs may emanate from one of 3 sources. From somewhere out of our own solar system, or as French astronomer Jacques Vallée suggests, from a point much closer to us in our own world, allowing ships from another dimension to slip into the time warp window suspected of being located in the Triangle. Or perhaps even from a world far below the water. It should be noted that in the southeast corner of the Bermuda Triangle is the Puerto Rican Trench, the deepest place in all of the Atlantic. In this area, UFOs have been seen traveling below water at incredible speeds, like the one that was tracked by 14 Navy ships for 4 days as it raced below water at depths up to 27,000 feet. Then, on August 4th, 1969, 2 lighthouse keepers from Great Isaac's Light mysteriously vanished. In the vicinity at the time, a fisherman reported seeing a fast-moving globe below water, speeding away from the island, but clearly visible just below the water's surface. Not all UFO sightings in the Bermuda Triangle took place under isolated circumstances. In some cases, they were seen by literally thousands of people. Probably the most famous case of many eyewitnesses to UFO activity took place in Puerto Rico at the southeast corner of the Triangle. It began on a summer night in August 1972 in the little village of Adjuntas.
se está poniendo chévere. No cambies de estación. Aquí viene la salsa para que se gocen y para saludar a María y a Nilda. Gózate con la salsa. Ahora sí.
Once more, people disappeared, never to be heard from again. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the UFO sightings stopped. By the end of October, only a trickle were reported. The island of Puerto Rico was returned to normal.
It all happened. It was real. Perhaps some of you don't believe the stories told by individuals, like John Carpenter or John Fairfax. But can you disregard what thousands saw? What was reported by the news media of Puerto Rico? Just what were those strange lights that thousands of people saw in the sky? No one seems to know. Or if they know, they won't tell us. Scientists and authorities all seem to differ on just what is going on in the Bermuda Triangle. But there is one cold, hard fact to which they must all agree. A shocking number of ships and planes and lives have mysteriously disappeared in this area, and they continue to disappear.
Whatever our differences as nations, we are all one family of man, and this planet Earth is our home. We can all unite to solve the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle. Has some highly intelligent aquatic race found its way up from the depths of the ocean? Is the triangle a base of sorts for aliens from outer space? Is lost Atlantis below these waters? And just who or what is collecting human specimens? Blue energy, time warps, or a window into another dimension? Together, the nations of the world must find the answers before it's too late. Our very survival may well depend on knowing what is going on here in the Bermuda Triangle.